Okay, hello grade 7s. I do apologize for the Wi-Fi interruptions on our Microsoft Teams meeting that you guys couldn't hear me or couldn't see my screen. So I'm going to record a PowerPoint lesson for you guys on the work that I was going to cover with you guys today. And that work is equations and expressions. We've been doing that for the past 2 weeks now. So you guys should be a little comfortable with that. And with the equations and expressions, we're going to throw in a little bit of order of operations today to kind of mix and match the two different concepts. Okay, so without further ado, let's go to slide number 1. Okay, so as I explained, and I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning in case you guys didn't hear me or there was interruptions. Okay, so order of operations and equations. Now we all know what order of operations are. Order of operations are the same as saying BODMAS. And BODMAS, let's see what BODMAS is as a little bit of a recap. BODMAS, right? And the B in BODMAS stands for brackets. There's my brackets. The O stands for the of. The D stands for divide. Multiplication is the M. The A stands for the addition, and the S stands for subtraction. So this means when you get a sum and there's brackets or there's division and multiplication in one sum, it just tells you that you must go in this order. You must do your brackets first, then you must do your of, then divide, then multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Okay, so let's read here. Let me just quickly get my highlighter so we can go through it together. Let me get a nice color. Okay, so first we solve what is inside the bracket. So first, well, that's not a nice color. You guys can't see it. Let's try that again. Let's go for a lighter color. Okay, so first we solve what's inside the brackets. Next, we have multiplication and then division, and we solve it left to right. And last, we solve the addition, and then we solve the subtraction from left to right. Okay, so let's go through this example together. Let me just quickly get a nice color again, which you guys will be able to see. Okay, so in our brackets here, right, we have 36 plus 40 divided by, in these brackets, we have 5 plus 5. Now, BODMAS tells us to do brackets first, so we go 36 plus 40 in bracket number 1, giving us, 36 plus 4, which gives us 40. Divided, we're going to keep our divide sign in the middle, and then in these brackets, 5 plus 5 gives us 10. And then we go 40 divided by 10, which gives us the answer of 4. Okay, now I would recommend pausing the video and trying A, B, C, and D by yourself. And then when you finish trying it, you can play the video again and see if you guys got the answers right or if you guys made mistakes and where you got it wrong. Okay, so let's continue and let's see what the answers are. When we look at BODMAS, we remember we have to do the brackets first. So if we do the brackets here, we have 50 minus 2, which gives us 48. We're going to leave the divide where it's supposed to be. And in these brackets here, we have 3 plus 5, giving me 8. Now 48 divided by 8 is 6. Okay, and if we look at B, 20 isn't in the bracket, but the brackets are here. So we're going to leave the 20 as it is, right? We're going to leave the 20 there and we're going to multiply whatever we calculate the brackets to be. 1 plus 7 gives me 8. 8 plus 13 plus 5 gives me 13. And 20 times 13 gives me 216. Okay, if we look at C, the 2 we're going to leave as it is. What's in the brackets here? It's 600 divided by 60, which gives me 10, plus what's the brackets here? We have 19 minus 8, which gives me 11. 2 times 10 gives me 20. plus that 11, which gives me 31. Okay, and if we look at D, we have 180 divided by whatever's in the brackets here. We have 13 minus 7, which gives me 6, and 6 plus 3 gives me 9. And 180 divided by 9 gives me 20. Okay, awesome. Now that we've done the basics of BODMAS and we had a little bit of a recap again, let's move on. Okay, so these are multiplications and divisions. Let me just quickly get my highlighter. These are multiplications and we have divisions. And remember, we do them from left to right because they are multiplication and division. Now let me get my pen and let's explain. Okay, if we look at the example, we have 24 divided by 3, and I'm putting brackets around it because that's the first thing we are going to deal with. 24 divided by 3 gives me 8. And we're just going to put the 2 in its place and the 4 in its place, and we're going to do this from left to right again. Let's start with the 8. Let me just quickly get another color. Let's get red. We have 8 times 2, which gives us 16, divided by that 4 gives me 4. Okay, so again, I would suggest that you guys pause the video, try A, B, C, and D by yourself, and then play the video again to make sure that you guys got the answers right and where you guys made mistakes if you did. Okay, so let's begin. Let's look at A. 36 divided by 4 gives me 9, divided by the 3, we're just going to put in its place there. And what's 9 divided by 3? It is 3. Okay, and if we look at B, 1,200 divided by 4 gives me 300. We're going to times that by 5, and we're going to divide it by 3. Then we left to right again. 300 times 5 gives me 1,500. And we're going to divide that by the 3. We're going to keep that in its place. And the answer to that is 1,500 divided by 3 gives me 500 as our answer. Okay, if we look at C, we're going to do what's 7? We're going to do 7 times 90 first. And what's 7 times 9, guys? Okay, so 7 times 90 gives me 630. We're going to divide it by the 2 times the 2 and divide by the 10. We're going to just keep all of those in their place. We're going to go 630 divided by 2, which gives me 315. And we're going to times, I was about to write the divide again. We are going to times it by the 2, and we're going to divide it by the 10. And then we're going to go 315 times by 2, which gives me, again, 630, and we're going to divide that by 10. And our answer is 63, because 630 divided by 10 gives me 63. Okay, and if we look at D, left to right again, we're going to do 5 times 6 first, which gives me 30. And then we're going to just write the rest. Divide by 3, divide by 2, and we're going to times it by 20. And then left to right again, 30 divided by the 3 gives me 10, divided by the 2, times it by the 20. Left to right, 10 divided by 2 gives me 5 times 20, which gives me 100. Okay, again, we know how to do that. And again, let's move to the next slide. Okay, so in this slide, we are going to solve in the right order. You can enclose the operation to be done first in a bubble or a cloud, right? Or a bracket. That's what they're trying to tell you. Okay, so let's go back to the color and my pen. Okay, so if we look at A, I'm going to suggest that you pause the video again, try and do these by yourself, and then play it to find out what the answers are. Okay, let's do this. If we look at A, we have 12 times 5, which gives me 60, plus 8 gives me 68. Okay, remember we are working with BODMAS again. So let me just quickly write that at the top here, so we remember what we are busy working with. Okay, remember with BODMAS we have to do multiplication before the addition. So here we have to do 2 times 9 first, which gives me 18, and then left to right. 10 plus the 18 gives me 28, and 28 plus that 8 gives me 36. Okay, let's look at C, and remember BODMAS, we have to do times first. So 5 times the 7 gives me 35, and 35 plus 45 gives me 80. Okay, now in D, the brackets are first because the brackets are already there for us. So 9 plus 8 gives me 17. And then BODMAS, we have to do multiplication. What's 2 times 17? It is 34. I'm just going to write it at the top here so we don't forget it. And 34 plus the 10 gives me 44. Okay, let's do E. Brackets here are already in, so we're going to do the brackets first. What's 8 plus 16? That is 24. And we just have divide left here, so we're just going to go left to right. 24 divided by 3 gives me 8, and then 8 divided by the 2 gives me 4. Okay, let's do F. Here we've got the brackets. 100 minus 80 gives me 20, plus that 20 gives me 40. And then we just have a times there, so 2 times the 40 gives me 80. Okay, let's do G. Brackets first, remember. 11 minus 5 gives me 6. And here we have a multiplication sign, so we have to say 2 times 6, which gives me 12. And 120 minus 12 gives me 108. Okay, and last one. Remember with BODMAS, we do division first. If there's addition and other operations in our sums, we're going to put the brackets around our division. But can we do that? No. Okay, remember, when we have multiplication and division in our sum, we have to do them from left to right. So we got 8 times the 5, which gives me 40. And that 40 we can divide it by 2, which gives me 20. So whenever you have times here like this and a divide, remember to put the brackets around both of them and do them left to right. And then 25 plus the 20 gives me 45. Okay, I hope you guys didn't get tricked out there, and I hope you guys got it all right. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Now, for this slide, I just want to explain to you guys the division. Let me just quickly get my highlighter. Division can also be written as a fraction line. So we did this a while ago. I don't know if you can remember, but if we say 12 divided by 2, this is the same as saying 12 over 2. Okay, so that division, that fraction line here is the same as saying divide. Okay, let me just rewrite that neater so that you guys can see it. 12 over 2. Okay, so now if we have a look at A, we have a fraction sign right there in between my brackets. So if we have to write that out, we can go 24 divided by 2, which gives me 12. And then we have the 6 plus the 12, which gives me 18. Okay, guys, pause the video, try do B and C by yourself, and then play the video again to get the answers. Okay, so, oh, what am I doing? I'm drawing my bracket the wrong way. So if we look at B, we can draw brackets around our fraction sign, and that's 32 divided by 2, which gives me, what does 32 divided by 2 give me? It gives me 16. And 16 minus 6 gives me 10. And let's look at C. There's our brackets around the fraction sign. 54 divided by 6 gives me 9. Now left to right, because we just have minuses left. 9 minus the 6 gives me 3, and 3 minus 2 gives me 1. Okay, so there we just threw a little bit of our fraction signs into order of operations. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, here we're going to do a bit of a recap from what we have done before. You get my highlighter. Now, if we look at an equation has numbers, it has letters, it has operation symbols, and it has an equal sign. Remember when we did our scale, our balance scale exercise? An equation tries to keep your scale level because of that equal sign. It is called an equation because it contains that equal sign. For example, 5 equals 1 plus 4. We have the left-hand side, which is the 1 plus 4, which, the left-hand side, sorry, which is the 5, which is equal to 1 plus 4 on the right-hand side. Okay, and if we look, an expression only has numbers, letters, and operation symbols. It has no equal sign. And it is just writing out what your sum is, what it means. Okay, so let's look at number 5. Sorry about that. Okay, let me just get my pen. Okay, so for number 5, we need to kind of answer these questions by saying, is it an equation or is it an expression? And it says, do not solve. So we just have to ask ourselves and answer whether they're equations or expressions. Okay, pause the video, try do them by yourself, and then you can play the video to find out what the answers are. Okay, let's look at A. A has an equal sign, so A is an equation. Equation. Now let's look at B. Does B have an equal sign? No, B does not have an equal sign, so B is an expression. Expression. Okay, and let's look at C. C has an equal sign right there, so C is an equation. Equation, there we go. And if we look at D, D has an equal sign, so D is also an equation. Equation. And E, guess what? E also has an equal sign, so E is also an equation. And if we look at F, does F have an equal sign? No, so F is an expression. Okay, so that was just a bit of a recap from what we've been doing with equations and expressions. And let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so for number 6 here, that's quite a bit of a nice exercise which incorporates some equations and expressions that we've been doing very nicely. Let me just get a nice different color for a change because there's already green here. Okay, it says, which expression matches the problem? So we have, I'll do A with you. We have 4 different expressions over here, the ones that I've just circled. And one of these matches the little story that is told here. So we have to read that story and find out which one matches. And then the question says, also solve the problems. So let's read here. Let me get my highlighter. Okay, it says here, Mpo bought 3 light bulbs. So he bought 3 light bulbs for 14 Rand each and paid with 50 Rand. What is his change? Now I want you to pause the video and think about this for a second and then see what the answer is and then play the video again. Okay, so Mpo bought 3 light bulbs. So at the top of my page, let's draw my light bulbs. We've got 1, we've got 2, and then we've got 3. And each light bulb he paid 14 Rand, right? 14 for each light bulb. And altogether he paid 50 Rand. So if we look at our sums, let's look at 1. Remember, when we pay for something and we get change, we have to pay with a bigger number than what we need, of the items that we're buying. So when you pay, you always pay with something bigger than what it costs. So if we work this out, will this answer be less than 50? It will be less than 50, and a minus sum can't have a small number at the beginning and then minus a larger number. So number 1 is not going to work. Let's look at number 2. We have 50 minus 14 Rand plus 14 Rand plus 14 Rand. And that is a very possible answer, but we don't always like writing out 14 Rand so many times, because what if you're buying 30 light bulbs? You're going to have a lot of 14 Rand. So let's put a little dot over 2. Let's come back to that. Let's look at 3. Now 3, we have 50 Rand minus 3 times 14. Remember, we're buying 3 light bulbs for 14 Rand each. So I think 3 is our correct answer because it summarizes, or it writes 3 times 14 very nicely for us. We don't have to write it out so many times like we did in 2. And it's got the big number in the front, the 50, minus the price that we are paying. So I think 3 is the correct answer. 2 is not correct. Now, why is 4 not correct? Because if we look at the brackets here, there's a lot of minuses. And remember, when we buy something, we add them up and then minus it from what we're paying. So 4 is also not correct. Okay, so 3 is the correct answer. And now let's quickly solve it. Okay, so 3 times 14 gives me, 3 times 14 gives me 42, right? So I'm going to write the 42 there because that's the value of our brackets. And then we had 50 minus the 42, which gives me how much? 8. So we had 8 Rand change. Okay, let's look at B quickly. Shirts cost, let me quickly get my highlighter. Okay, shirts that cost 46 Rand each are discounted by 5. Mum buys 6 of them. What is the total cost? Now, when we read this sum, we have to remember that this 46, let me just quickly erase my light bulbs so I can draw some t-shirts that we need. Okay, so let me get my color back. Okay, so my t-shirts are going to be round blobs. So each t-shirt is 46 Rand minus our discounted price, which is 5 Rand. So when we buy 6 t-shirts, each t-shirt is 46 minus 5, and we're going to keep doing that for all 6. So therefore, we have to find out which the correct one is. So let's look at this. Let's look at 1. We have 46 minus the 5 Rand times by 6. But remember, that's not always the correct way to say it because you have to buy 6 shirts for 46 Rand each. So because this little bit is in the front, it's not 100% correct. So but it tells us our scenario. So let's put a little dot there because we think it might be right, but we don't know yet. Okay, let's look at 2. We have 6 t-shirts times by the 46 minus 5. And remember, we like it when this little bit of bracket telling us the price of our shirts and the discount are at the end of the sum with the number of shirts being first. So I think 2 is the correct one. Let's see why 3 and 4 are not correct. Okay, remember the price is being discounted. So here the 46 needs to be minus, the 5 needs to be subtracted by the 46, not by the 6. So the way that this is written, it's 46 times 6, which isn't correct, minus 5. Because that means all 6 t-shirts that you buy only have a 5 Rand discount, not each shirt having a 5 Rand discount. So that's why 3 is not correct. And if we look at number 4, we have 46 Rand minus 6. Now remember, we're buying a certain amount of t-shirts. We're buying 6 t-shirts. So we need to times our overall price by 6, not by 5. So that's why that's supposed to be a cross. That's why that's not right. And therefore, 2 is our correct sum. Okay, and if let's write that out again, we have 6 times our brackets of 46 Rand minus the 5. And remember, we're doing the brackets first. So we're going to work out our discount. What's 46 minus 5? Gives me 41. So mom paid 41 Rand per shirt. And what's 41 times by 6? Gives me 206. And that is what 246, and that is what mom paid overall. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, let's do C and D quickly. Maybe pause the video, try do them by yourself, and then you can play it again to get the answers. Okay, Andrew buys a salad for 18 Rand and a pizza for 23 Rand. He shares the cost evenly with his friend. What is Andrew's share of the cost? Okay, so let's get my pen. Let's get to the blue. Okay, so remember, we're buying a pizza for 18 Rand and a salad for 18 Rand and a pizza for 23 Rand. So remember, we have to add those together. And when we share it evenly with our friend, evenly means we're dividing it by 2. So let's look at our options. Now, when we add the 18 and the 23, remember we are doing that together because we're buying it, and only afterwards are we splitting the cost. So that's better for them to have brackets around them. So let's look at 1. Now remember, we are doing the 18 and the 23 Rand first, and then we are dividing by 2, but number 1 doesn't have the brackets in, so number 1 is not right. Now, what are we doing first? We're not splitting it by 2 and then we're buying it. We are first buying them and then splitting it by 2. And also, it's not 2 Rand because we're only splitting it between the two of us. We are not money. So that is why this is not correct, because this little R is here. So 2 is not right. Okay, let's look at 3. Now 2 times 18 Rand and 2 times 23 Rand here. Remember, we are splitting the overall cost. So splitting the cost means divide, not times. So 3 is not correct. And if we look at 4, we're first buying our salad and our pizza, and we're adding those numbers together, and then we are dividing. So 4 is our answer. And if we answer 4, and if we work it out what Andrew's share is, we have to add the price of our salad and the price of our pizza. That we go 18 plus 23, which gives us 41. 41. And 41 divided by 2 is 20 Rand 50 cents. Okay, let's do D quickly. Marty shares equally the cost of a meal with 3 other people and the fare for a taxi with 2 other people. The meal costs 48 Rand and the taxi fare costs 30 Rand. So the meal he is sharing with 3 people, meaning he has to divide the meal by 3. And the taxi he is sharing with 2 people, so therefore he has to share the taxi amount he has to divide it by those 2 people. Okay, if we look at the options that we are given, okay, it says here, let's read it properly now again. Marty shares equally the cost of a meal with 3 other people. So that other means it's us. Here's Marty. and 3 other people. Let's draw here. Okay, so how many people are we all together? 4. So the answer, the 48, the cost of the meal, needs to be divided by 4 people. So if we look at number 1, 48 divided by the 4 people, we are correct. And if we look at the fare for taxi, it's 2 other people as well. So it's me, or it's Marty, and 2 other people. 1, 2. So how many altogether? 3. So here, 30 divided by 3 in option number 1 is also correct. Now 2 isn't correct because remember, we are sharing the 48 with the 4 people and we are splitting the 30 Rand with 3 people. So not the 3 or the 2 shown in number 2, so that's why 2 is wrong. If we look at 3, we are sharing it with 4 people, the 48 Rand. We are splitting it with the 4 people and splitting the 30 Rand with 3 people, not 3 people and 2 people there. So that's why 3 is wrong. Okay, and 4, remember we are splitting the 48 Rand by 4 people and the 30 Rand with 3 people. So we can't add the 3 and the 2 to make the 5 because each cost is separated with different people. Okay, so the 5 isn't correct, so 4 is wrong, and that makes 1 our answer. And if we solve that quickly, we have 48 divided by 4 plus 30 divided by 3. And if we do division first, because of BODMAS, 48 divided by 4 gives me 12, plus 30 divided by 3 gives me 10, which gives me 22 Rand overall that Marty has to pay. Okay, I hope you guys got those right and that you understand. And let's move to the next slide quickly. Okay, so remember we've still been doing equations and expressions for a while now, and this is just a little bit of another recap with regards to equations and expressions, because with math, repetition is key. Okay, so let's look here. We have 120 divided by 75. This is the left-hand side of the equation. And then we have 3 times 15, and this is the right-hand side. Now, we have to ask ourselves the question with equations. Do the left and the right side have the same value? Because only when they have the same value do we know that our equation is balanced. And remember, when we're doing equations, we want the left and the right side to be equal. Okay, so the question is whether the left and the right side are equal. Now let me get my color and let's work this out quickly. Okay, left-hand side, we have 120 minus 75, which gives me, let's write it up here, 45, right? And if we have a look at our right-hand side, we have 3 times 15, which gives me 45. So if we have a look at our equation here, the left-hand side and the right-hand side are equal. So they balance. If yes, it is a true equation. So 120 minus 75 equals 3 times 15 is a true equation. Now, if we look here, we have a 2 equals a 5. Now, this is a very simple equation, but it is false. And the reason it is false is because the left-hand side, which is 2 there, right, and the right-hand side, which is 5, are not equal. So our equation does not balance. Okay, so it is a false equation. Now, if we look down here, where my arrow is, we have 4 plus 5, which gives us on the left-hand side, and 21 minus 3 on the right-hand side. Now, if we work this out, 4 plus 5 gives us 9, and 21 minus 3 gives us 18. Now, this is also not correct because the left-hand side does not equal the right-hand side, so our balance is a little bit not equal. So it is also a false equation. Okay, and this is exactly what we try and do when we have equations. Like it says here with the 18 equals x minus 3. We want to try figure out how to make our balance or our scale balance. Okay, and remember from last week, this minus and the 3 are attached. And in order to find out what x is, we have to try get everything that are the same on one side. So we're going to move the -3 to the left-hand side. And what happens when it jumps over the equal sign here? The signs change. So then we're going to have 18 plus 3 gives me x. And when we have to find out what x is, we can easily say 18 plus 3 gives me 21, which makes the value of x 21. Let me just make that a little bit lighter. That color was a little bit dark. Okay, so x equals 21, which makes the equation true, because remember with our check, if we have to put 21 into the place of x here, we have 21 minus 3, which gives me 18. Okay, so if you look at number 7 at the bottom here, let's do question A, B, and C. Maybe pause the video, try them yourself, play the video to find out what the answers are afterwards. Okay, let's find out what these answers are. Now remember with our brackets here, we have a division, a fraction sign, which means division because of this line here. Now the question says, if the equation is false, change one number to make it true. So we have to find out if the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. Now I hope I've left myself enough space here. Let's work this out. Okay, 6 stays where it is, plus we have 32 divided by 8, remember, because of our fraction line here is actually divide, and 32 divided by 8 gives us 4, which equals 5. And 6 plus 4 gives us 10, and on the right hand side we have 5. Now this equation is false. And it says on this question, change one number to make it true. Now if we have a look here, what do we have to add to this 4 to make it true? We have to add what to 4? 1. So in order to make this true, we have to add 1 instead of the 6. So we're going to have 1 plus 32 over 8, which gives me 5. And that will make it true. Okay, let's look at B quickly. Now remember we have to do brackets first. Our brackets here are 6 minus 2, which gives me 4. 4 times 3 gives me 12 on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we have 5 plus 5, which gives me 10. Now left and the right-hand side are not equal, so this is false. Let's write the false there. Okay, and how do we change one thing here to make it true? Okay, let's leave the 12 as it is. What can we change on the right-hand side in order to make it true? We mustn't have 5 plus 5. What do we add to 5 to make 12? We have to add 7. Hey, because 5 plus 7 gives me 12. So on the left-hand side, we're going to have 6 minus 2 times by the 3 equals, and on the right-hand side, in order to make it true, we have to say, oh, not times, plus. We have to say 5 plus 7, and that 7 makes it true. Okay, and let's look at C. We have 5 times 2, which gives me 10, equals 16 divided by 2 is 8, plus 2 gives me 10. So this sum is true. Okay, and let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so if we look at number 8 here, it says place the brackets into these equations to make them true. Now, if I was you, I'd pause the PowerPoint, try do them yourselves, and then play to find out what the answers are. Okay, if we look at A here, remember we have BODMAS, so we have a times here and we have plus. However, what do we have to do to get 180? Now the question is, what do we have to times by 2 to get 180? Now if we go 180 divided by 2, we have 90. And if we look at the numbers here, we have 10 plus 40 plus 40, and overall they give me 90. So 90 times 2 gives me 180. So our brackets are placed around our 10 plus 40 and plus 40. We make them nice and bright here for you guys. Okay, let's look at B. We have 144 equals 3 times 2 plus 4 plus times 8. Now, how do we get 144? We have to try and remember it's like 12 times 12 or 2 times another number, or let's say if 3 goes into 144. These are all the things you need to think about when you try and put brackets to make it true. Now, if you put the brackets around the 3 times a 2, that gives me 6. And if you try to put the brackets around those two, there's also a times. What's 4 times 8? 4 times 8 gives me 32. And 32 plus 6 does not give me 144. So definitely the brackets do not go there. Let's try put the bracket around the 2 and the plus 4. 2 plus 4 gives me 6. Now if we go 3 times 6, we get 18. And what's 18 times 8? 18 times 8 is 144. So then, in order to make this true, we have to put the brackets around the 2 and the plus 4. And if we look at C, we have 40 times 3. And 40 times 3 gives me 120 equals 80 minus 50 times 4. So you have to think to yourself, what do we have to times by 4 to get 120? 30. And in order to get 30, we have to put the brackets around the 80 and the 50, because 80 minus 50 is 30, and 30 times 4 gives me 120. Okay, and let's quickly look at 9. Okay, I would pause the video, try them by yourself, and then have a look what the answers are. Okay, it says here, find a number to fit in the box so that the equation is true. So we have a 40 on the left-hand side, and we have to think to ourselves, what do we times by the 2 on the right-hand side here to get to 40? It's 20, hey. So how do we get the 9 plus something to give me 20? We have to add 11 and 9 together to give me 20, and then 20 times 2 give me 40. Okay, B, 4 times 8 gives me 32, hey. And if we look on the right-hand side, we have 5 times 6, which gives me 30, plus what gives me 32? 2. And if we look at C, 4 plus 5 gives me 9. And what divided by 2 gives me 9? 18 divided by 2 gives me 9. So 20 minus what gives me 18? 2. 20 minus 2 gives me 18. 18 minus 2 gives me 9. Okay, and if we look at D, we have 81 on the left-hand side. And if we have a look at the right-hand side, what do we do to 9 to get to 81? We have to times it by 9. So what do we do to 2 to get 9? We add 7. So 7 plus 2 gives me 9 in our brackets. 9 times 9 gives me 81. Okay, and if we look at E, let's look at the right-hand side. Bottom as first. 20 times 6 gives me 120. And 120 plus 12 gives me 132. And what do you times by 11 to get 132? 12. Because 12 times 11 gives me 132. Okay, let's look at F. 5 plus 4 gives me 9. Times 3 gives me 18. Right. What do we divide by 2 to give me 18? 36 divided by 2 gives me 18. Okay, so let's look at 10. It says solve these simple equations. And remember when we did equations here, last week, we try and get the variable on its own and we move all of the other constants to the other side, or we divide or we times, so we can try find out what the variable is. So I would pause the video, try A, B, and C by yourself, and then play the video to find out what the answers are. Okay, let's do A together. S times 2 gives me 660. Now remember, when we try and get rid of this times 2, we have to divide. So divide by 2 on the left-hand side. And what you do on the left-hand side, you do on the right-hand side. So 660 divided by 2 as well. We get rid of the 2, leaving S all on its own. And 660 divided by divided by 2 is 330. And let's look at B. X over 2 equals 5. Now, in order to get rid of this 2 as our denominator, we have to times by 2 over 1, because remember, all whole numbers are over 1. Okay? And whatever we do on the left-hand side, we do on the right-hand side. So we're going to times it by 2 over 1. Let's cross out the 2's, leaving us with the x on its own. What's 5 times 2? 10. Okay, let's look at C. Remember, whenever we try and get things alone and they're negative, like in this minus y here, that's circled, we try and move that to become a positive. So we're going to move the y to the right-hand side, and then we're going to move the 60 to the left-hand side. Let me use another color, and let's do this at the top here. Remember, we have the 200 on the left-hand side, and there's a little plus by the 60, and if it jumps over the equal sign, it becomes a minus 60 equals this minus y. If we move it over the equal sign, becomes a positive, so it becomes a positive y. And what's 200 minus 60? Gives me 140. So y is equal to 140. Okay, so I hope you guys got a little bit of a recap there. Okay, let's look at number 11 quickly. Now I'm going to leave number 11 for you guys to figure out and have a look at. It's a little bit of a trick question. You probably will never be asked something like this in a test or an exam. This is just to kind of get your mind a little bit flowing. So I would pause the video, try figure out how to build 3 true equations using only these numbers that are given to you. And once you've done that, you're more than welcome to play and listen to what my recommendations are. But remember, there's so many different things that you will be able to write, because so many things can be true if you make them true. Okay, so I'm going to give you number 1. Now remember, these are my recommendations of what I think they should be, not necessarily what you guys may think. So as long as you've done your check for the left and the right hand side and they are equal, you are correct. Okay, so my first recommendation is 3 times 3 plus 1 equals 1 times 11 minus 1. And I want you at home to check if these are correct as well, so that you can understand why I'm doing this. Okay, and if we look at my number 2, we're going to have 3 times 11 plus 3 equals 3 times 3 times 3 plus 11 minus 1 minus 1. And you'll see when you do this why it makes sense. Okay, and number 3, my third recommendation would be 11 minus 3 equals 3 times 3 minus 1. Now remember, number 11 is just kind of to get your brain working, to organize these as little equations for yourself. But yes, now I hope you guys understood all of that. If you have any questions, please feel free to write a message to either Teacher Olani or me, or on the chat on Microsoft Teams. I hope you guys enjoyed the PowerPoint presentation like this, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye guys.